ourselves. And since Mr. McGinley's last, he has to go first and introduce himself.
Good morning, everyone. Donovan McGinley with RSM.
Good morning, Chantel Knowles with RSM.
Nancy Samuels, Accounting.
Mike Burke, CFO.
Chandler Williamson, Audit Committee.
Claudia Robbins, Inspector General's Office.
Elizabeth McBride, Inspector General's Office.
Long Chiu, Inspector General.
Noah Silver, Audit Committee.
Dave Talley, Audit Committee.
Debbie Manso, Audit Committee.
Frank Barbieri, School Board.
Blair Littlejohn, the General Counsel's Office.
Welcome. Back here.
Inspector General's Office. Juana Alexander Prophet, the new Director of Extended Learning. Michelle Ciancio, Extended Learning.
Welcome. Welcome, everybody. We approve the agenda first, or I'd introduce Mr. Williamson? What's the protocol, boy? I don't want to get in trouble.
Give him the floor and let him introduce himself.
Okay. Mr. Williamson, why don't you introduce yourself?
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Great to be here. I want to take an opportunity to thank Mr. Chu for allowing me to be on this audit committee. It's certainly a switch in conversations for me as a city manager here in Palm Beach County. I'm usually sitting on the other side of the table answering these questions sometimes when we talk about audit and transparency and accountability. So it's a welcome sight for me to be here working with you on behalf of the students and the parents and the school board here in Palm Beach County. And I hope that my experience, that I can provide some different perceptions of how things are from my side of the fence as far as it comes to municipality accountability. As you know, we have a Palm Beach County Inspector General, and we have certain compliances and regulations that we have to follow as city managers when it comes to accounting and financing and doing good with the people's money. So I look forward to working with all of you and this community on this audit committee. And again, I really am kind of pleased to be here, and I hope that my experience from my background and the history of my 23 years can be some type of benefit to this audit committee. Thank you.
Welcome. Excellent. Very good. Having said that, we now have a quorum, so we can approve the agenda.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Very good. Unanimous. Next, we're going to go and review the minutes. I know Mr. Williamson didn't see it. Do we have a motion for the minutes?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, very good. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, that passes unanimously. Very good. Any public comments? Oscar? No? Okay, very nice. Choosing representative for Independent Referendum Oversight Committee. Is that, who's going to present that, Mr. Chu? You are?
Mr. Chair, used to be Richard Roberts.
Yes.
Since he has left us, so we need to have his replacement. This committee, Mr. Burke, will you elaborate a little bit what this committee does?
Well,
Yeah, I'd be happy
before we
to.
go, we're missing some members, so I want to, when does the next time this committee meets?
They meet quarterly. Let's see, we'll be, I think we're good for another month or so. So it's not urgent. I mean, we got a little time if needed.
Right. I mean, I'm going to let you introduce you because I don't know if Mr. Williamson, I don't know if Ms. Manzo knows about the committee. So go ahead and introduce it, but I prefer to wait till everyone's here, so everybody, we have a full committee, and then we'll make a decision if somebody wants to volunteer or somebody really wants to do it, or if we don't, then we'll talk amongst ourselves about figuring out. But go ahead.
It's a really timely question because the school board's got an important ballot question on November 6th about the operating millage levy. And we're requesting a 1 mil levy. Since 2010, the voters have approved a quarter mil levy, and that's been in place. So the oversight's been in place since 2010. And this committee meets quarterly to track all the revenue that comes in from that quarter mil to make sure that it's spent in accordance with the ballot question. And that quarter mil has supported our art, music, PE, and choice and career and technical education teachers. It pays for over 650 teachers. So it's not the most exciting committee to be on. It's very cut and dry. Ms. Canus and I come in and we bring basically the payroll records for the 650 teachers, and we show that the revenue has come in from the tax collector, and you know, we've never had an issue. All of our reports have been accepted. So, thank you.
Okay,
And Mr. Silver?
yes.
Mr. Chandler and I are actually both very familiar with this because we have to do this within our jurisdiction, so
Right.
we understand this.
So would one of you like to volunteer to be on it?
I'm going to yield to Deborah.
We can do what you said, wait till a full quorum is here, or, you know, to see if there's any other interest, but if
But are
no
you
one
interested?
else
Yeah.
accept, I can, for a quarterly meeting, hopefully I can add one more thing to my schedule if the committee so deems to choose me.
Okay, hold that thought. Blair?
Looking at the calendar, it looks like the next IROC meeting is November the 9th. So I don't know if you all are going to meet again. This committee is going to meet before then or not. October 19th.
19, that's one, number two. But I'm looking around at the other audit members, and I guess it's in my discretion. I mean, I know Mr. Dixon well, and Tammy, I think you're probably the most qualified besides Mr. Williamson. So if you're willing to do it, I'd be happy to accept that, if you're willing to take that on.
If you all would like to,
Yeah, I think that'd be great. Do we vote on that, Blair, or?
Yeah, go ahead and vote on it. And if, when the other committee members are here, if you want to reconsider that and, you know, somebody else is just dying to be on there.
Yeah. Well, if we don't have to put
I
in the
will
minutes,
yield
they
to
won't
them.
know.
That's correct, yes, that's not a problem. If we change at some point, yes.
You'll see, we're a little, I mean, we're serious about the money, but we're a little more formal about protocol here. So if we don't put in the minutes, they won't. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, so all in favor of Ms. Manzo serving on the committee?
Aye.
Aye. Williamson, you in favor?
Yes.
Okay, good. It's unanimous. You can't vote for yourself.
I don't know if we needed a motion and a second on that, but
Oh,
I'll
this is
yield to
good.
the,
Move.
Oh, yeah,
okay.
he's so moved. Mr. Williamson's,
A second.
he seconds it. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
There you
How's that? Now it's official. Now you're locked in.
thank
All right,
you.
thank you.
No, thank you
Welcome
very
aboard.
much. Appreciate it. Okay, good. Thank you, Mr. Burke, for explaining that so articulately. Good timing, too, you're correct. Mr. Chu, we have two reports. Before we begin reports, allow me 30 to 90 seconds just to go over with Mr. Williamson. Hopefully, you're going to be in the committee for a long time. Let me just explain some of the ways we present these and why there's so many Inspector General people here in the room. It's the committee's opinion that these reports, which we do take seriously, it is the serious part of the meeting, the more that the actual Inspector General's staff is involved in presenting the reports, the more they're here to listen to how we look at it. It's more of an iterative process because our staff, the audit staff, the Inspector General staff, is part of the whole team here. So even though they're part of the team, they still have the responsibility of oversight, fraud, waste, and abuse. So it's a fine line. I mean, we have the CFO sitting right here at the same time. We have operations here. We have the board. But we try to explain in an objective way what happened, what went wrong, so we could all learn from it. And we know that there's going to be issues and problems. And then we're trying to get better all the time. So in the sake of continuous improvement, a lot of Mr. Chu's staff is here. We asked them to come up if there's any details about the audit that we have questions about. Feel free, whoever did the audit, I always say who did it, what happened specifically, so we understand it. Not that we could change the past, but so we can learn from it, because what our committee tries to do is work with the CFO, work with the board, to put policies and procedures in place to stop things from happening again. We can't go back and change it, but we can find out what happened, why it happened, and is it an aberration? Is it one lone person? Or is there something wrong that we think, the committee thinks, with the policy or procedures that we need to either tighten up or replace? That's what I think is, and the committee thinks is our role and responsibility here, to understand it and to safeguard the assets. In addition, we do several performance audits. So we're not just here counting money. Performance audits are very important, so we get the efficiency and effectiveness out of all of our people here. And because, like you, especially Ms. Manzo, Mr. Talley, who has a lot of experience, I'm in the private sector, we try and bring that experience here to work with the district, because they're very good, but of course they're here in this area doing this job. So if we see things in the outside world, we try and bring that experience here, and that's what I think makes our district so valuable and strong, that we bring the outside experiences, and we're all understanding and listen to that, and then we try and continuously improve. So with that, I mean, obviously, we're going to have audits, reports every meeting. We have two today. First one is the adult education program that you audited, Mr. Chu. Are you going to present that?
Yeah, I'll be more than happy. And then if you have specific questions I cannot answer, I have my staff. I think Barbara Reynolds is here today, that she could
Okay, very good.
answer your questions, yes.
Thank you. Proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The first report we have today is the audit of adult education program. This program, this audit was included in our work plan because we have seen a kind of a repeated pattern for the last several years when this program was audited by the State Auditor General. So we look into that and want to see if improvement had been made. And also, we have a new system to account for the student enrollment, the SIS, which had been in place for about a year, and it took quite a while for the whole program to be up and running. So we did this audit, and then it's interesting that we found out that the percent of the problem that was pretty much consistent with the State Auditor General's conclusion. However, when we look into a more current year, which is fiscal year 18, we found out there were substantial improvement regarding the error rate and also the over-reporting of the attendance hour by students. So we looked into the whole year, fiscal year 18, and then Mr. Burke and I, we and other staff had the opportunity to meet with the State Auditor General for the most current audit exit conference. I believe they have something similar to finding for fiscal year 18, but the scope only cover 1 month, correct? Am I correct, Mr. Burke?
I think they looked at the first semester of the year.
Oh, the first semester
of last school
Okay.
year. Yep.
Okay, so I mean, we cover the whole year. So I think to us, I think we are more our samples more representing a bigger population. So and if you see that on our conclusion that number one, that in a nutshell, the reporting error has gone down from 49% in fiscal year 16 to 13 in fiscal year 17, and down to 9% in fiscal year 18. And also, the hours over-reported had gone down from 14% to 2% and 3%. So that, I mean, we concluded that there are substantial improvement. So I have, of course, I share a report with Mr. Bird, and then in his response to the State Auditor General, that he's going to incorporate part of our fieldwork. And also, I have mentioned to the State Auditor General that we'll be more than happy to show them our methodology for the last year's sampling, so that they could take that into consideration. And also, state law requires that if a finding is being repeated 3 years on a row, that finding will be reported to the State Audit Committee, and then Mr. Bird or our chairman had to respond and explain how and what we're going to do to address the issue. So that's the accountability here from the state. And also, the second conclusion we have is that we also identified the causes for the over-reporting. And basically, the staff was aware, and then if you can see in the responses, a lot of corrective action has been made, especially after the implementation of the SIS database system, the student information system. And then we also test the payroll expenditures. They appear to be reasonable. And there was a minor number of dollars, $1,000, that was charged to an unrelated expenses. So this is also a positive finding. The last finding we have is that we recommended the adult ed program procedure manual be updated so that some of the old things can be removed. So that's pretty much our report.
October 1st, they said it would be finished? Is that correct? October 1st, they said it would be finished?
Which?
The update of the report, the update of the manual?
No, Well, we have a recommendation, so they agree, they said they will be done by October 1st, yes.
October 1st, right?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, so we will follow up on that.
Any questions?
No.
No questions? Okay.
I guess I should,
Yeah.
Chair, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Just so I understand, because whenever I read through this, I guess one thing that was coming to my mind, because whoever's instructing these courses get paid, usually based on attendance, right? Is
No,
that
they're
not
paid
how
by-
it's done?
They're paid by the hour.
Okay, so that's the only thing that came to mind whenever.
Conflict of interest.
Well, that there was, the amount, the people, the participants were more than what was actually there. So it's an hourly rate versus a per person rate. Okay, thank
There's
you.
no direct, there's no direct incentive for them to have more students.
No, unless the class itself was folded and the person then would be
Right,
maybe out of a
exactly.
job.
That's what I mean, direct incentive, right, correct.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
This report's encouraging because this has been a pain point. As
Yeah.
Mr. Chu referenced, the state auditor general comes in every 2 years, and this is one of the areas they've audited. And we've had this recurring finding, so there's a lot of attention to this. I'm encouraged by this report because we have new leadership in the department, and it seems to be making a difference. So that's encouraging. Adult Ed's kind of unique. We have a Department of Adult Education that's really charged with responding to these audit findings and getting compliance and all that. But on the day-to-day, the Adult Ed administrator reports to the day school principal. So they're kind
Right.
of serving two bosses, and we want to make sure that we're going to keep driving this home with the day school principals and the night school and the Adult Ed department. Because I know the board has grown tired of getting that. It prompts a letter every year from the Legislative Audit Committee, and it's not a pleasant letter. So we're trying to get this finding cleared once and for all. But we are going to see it one more time prop up because they're under the watchful eye now. The Auditor General, they're not perfect. It's a recurring finding. So
Right.
we're going to get hit with that one more time probably.
But at least now, I mean, we brought it to the awareness of all the instructors that this has to be done on a daily basis, and it's being enforced, and the person running the department understands that, the priority. I guess that's the main area. Any other questions? Okay, motion to accept the report?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, passes unanimously. Mr. Chu, you have another report, too. Special review of Banyan Creek Summer Camp. Are you going to present this?
Mr. Chair, I'll be more than happy to do that. And also, the staff who works on this project is Ms. Susie.
Susie's here.
Yeah, she's here. I'm sure she'll be more than happy to answer questions if I cannot answer them. But this project is pretty straightforward. This is like a special review that's split off from our regular school audit. When we did the 2017 internal funds audit of the school, we found there were significant discrepancies that in the summer camp fees collection record and the deposit record. So as a general rule, because we have limited time to do the field work at the school, average of 2 days per project, otherwise we won't be able to finish it. So we kind of push this thing on the side until we finish all the school audit, and then we take on this special project, and that's what we did. We found out that there were about $5,500 missing, and the staff in charge admitted that she took the money, and she is fully cooperating with school police. And then, as you can see in our report, that she was arrested, and then they will be in a plea meeting with the state attorney. So, and I think that there was some indication from this staff that she's willing to pay back the money, and then she was terminated by the school district later on, early this year. So, and one of the things that we found out that this thing doesn't happen very often. Every now and then we stumble onto it, And because we do have very strong control system in collection of revenue and recording it, or the whole, and so I think this is something unique, not as a what you call a very very common. So this is something unique that we found it.
Any questions?
Just one comment. Whenever I read through this, I appreciate that they are encouraging parents to pay online, which kind of takes a lot of
Right.
the,
Cash out of
where it
schools.
could have, right.
Right.
So I think that is a good solution and fix.
Out of curiosity, who's did the audit? Susie? Oh, come on up. Let me give a little background for Mr. Williamson first. The school district itself, like most school districts, but not all, we have our own staff that audits the schools, and we do that. It used to be a third party did that. So not only is the district audited and all the departments within the district, the schools themselves are audited, and a significant part of that audit are funds that are raised at the schools. So there's a lot of cash in the schools. Over the years, we significantly cut down the cash in the schools. My personal goal is to get it to be zero, and I think it can happen. Right now, we're at what percentage?
We're about 30% online, right?
We're about 30% online. So we used to be nothing online, obviously. We're about 30%. Every year, we try and get that percentage higher, so there's less cash in the schools. The less cash in the schools correlates to less theft. And it's also a lot easier for the bookkeepers because the cash has to be handled, has to be counted. You have to have segregation of duties. We have drop. It's like running a business. So we're trying to get that out as much as we can. Online is easier to trace, better audit trail, and less chance of theft. So, but for the next few years, we're always going to have cash in the schools. So my question is, was there, I know it's $5,000 and there's a large district, but first of all, are we comfortable that it's only $5,000 based on what you've done? And that's all, because before we've seen this and there could have been records that were missing or thrown out or destroyed, and the number could be significantly higher. So you've backed into 5,000. Are we comfortable that's the exposure?
Good morning.
Morning.
First of all, I'd like to introduce Andres Ortiz. He's our staff auditor that was doing the school audit. And basically, it was his instincts that noted that there was something wrong. And then when it was followed up upon, we did discover the theft.
Right.
Question to your comfort level, as far as summer camps missing money, yes, we're comfortable that that's probably all that was taken during summer camp.
Okay. Is there anything either one of you can suggest or anyone else in the department? So, I mean, what you did was good. You guys are professionals. I like it. And then you went back. Again, Mr. Williamson, we have 175 plus schools to audit, and we do all that in a relatively tight period of time. You'll see in a minute. So when something like this comes up, a red flag goes up and we go back. We don't stay there because we have to get through the process. Is there anything that we could have known ahead of time besides you seeing it physically?
I'm not trying to talk over
No.
him, but realistically, because of this particular, every time one of these cases occur, we tweak our audit procedures a little bit to look at something. We might see something that occurred someplace, so we look at it at other schools as well. To give credit to the Department of After-School Programming, they've actually upped their game as far as they're reviewing the segment of the database now as part of their annual review in which was manipulated to make this occur.
So we got an extra set of eyes watching it. Good, okay. So you've by yourself, you guys have put in another process for belt and suspenders to watch it.
Correct.
Good, that's very good. Okay. Any questions, Mr. Williamson?
This is very familiar with what I dealt with maybe about 2.5 years ago, and what we were able to do at my city is we significantly limited the amount of cash that a citizen can bring in to pay for permits, billing, et cetera. We went all the way down, I think, to $250. That's the only amount of money we can accept in cash, and we went to either credit card or money orders, and it significantly reduced the opportunity for theft, by staff, because there was limited availability of money in the cash drawer. So I'm very familiar with that, and it's good to hear that. It's something that can, get away from you fairly quickly when you have that amount of cash, on hand. So if you can, significantly reduce what can be brought in cash, you can sort of kind of control, the risk for us that becoming an issue.
Right. We have a different metric. 250 is the most ever. We're dealing in dollars, $5, 10, 20s. And one of the saddest parts is sometimes that money's outright stolen, and it takes away from what the children are doing, the parents, and it's not good for morale and a lot of other reasons as well besides the money. So we welcome your input as you see these come along, anything you see, and we're tightening it up. I still want to always work with the banks to try and encourage whatever we can with our public to be able to use more online, either debit cards or credit cards. Okay. Any other questions? Thank you very much. Good catch. Any motion to accept the report?
Motion to accept.
Second.
Second, okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes unanimously, Blair, in case you're keeping track down there. Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
before
sir.
you move on, I understand that we have started a new pilot program for people to purchase ticket online, for the game ticket, the football game ticket. We started.
We're doing digital ticketing, and we started small with 4 high schools for their football games, but we plan to grow that.
Excellent. Are we using a service provider for that? Are we doing it?
Yes.
Who's the service provider?
Is it StubHub? GoFan, I'm sorry. All right, good. Thank you.
So we have GoFan, and do we pay them?
No,
The purchaser of the ticket pays them.
Is there a,
The purchaser of the ticket pays them. I think they pay $1 plus a small percentage. So it's like Ticketmaster.
okay, but is that, so if someone wants to go to a football game, they have to pay the extra $1 plus a small percentage to go, or no?
Yes.
I wonder what the cost benefit is to offer them a $1 discount. Is that something that we can do if they do it online? In other words, I want to encourage it to happen. I mean, we don't want to lose,
It is moving right along. It actually.
without doing it. Okay, so no sense in doing that.
At the moment,
Okay.
it seems to be taking off.
All right, so they get $1. The $1 goes to them, I assume, right?
Yes. But we don't have to count any of the money.
No, I know we don't have to count, I know I like that, but I
Some
assume as
other
it grows,
benefits.
we might be able to negotiate less than
Negotiate
$1, because they're going to get more business.
Right.
So who's in charge of all that?
Leanne Evans has been rolling it out for us, our treasurer.
Yeah.
And there's some other benefits, though, as that program grows, just for also, kind of monitoring, getting a feel for the size of the crowd
Yeah.
that we may expect at a football game, and then that helps our school police department determine staffing levels and things like that. So at some point, we want to get to where everyone's utilizing that. But the pilot's off to a good start. We just started it this season.
I like it. I'm thinking in my business mind, eventually we should charge more if they don't do it. That way,
That's funny. I was just going to say that whenever
Yeah.
you finish. I said that would be a good thing is you pay online or
Right.
you pay a premium at the door.
right,
if
you have to pay a
don't
premium at the
online.
door because we have a handling fee. Yeah, I'm thinking that eventually we might be able to do that. I guess it would have to go, I don't know if it has to go to the board, school by school, but we want to encourage people to do it online. Right now,
We'd like to
right now,
standardize-
everything else
There is
being
some
equal.
fluctuation in pricing across from school to school.
Yeah, I know
too.
there is.
So we want to try to standardize that.
Yeah, no, for now, the pilot, it works well, but eventually I'm just looking at doing it that way. Yeah, there'd be a premium for cash. I mean, isn't that how?
Yeah,
how do
there's a
gas
committee,
stations do? Those gas stations, some of them make you pay more if you pay cash instead of credit card?
No, that you pay less if you pay cash.
Because we got fees.
All right, strike that. Okay, very good. So I like that. So that's good. 4 schools sending it out. Thank you, Mr. Chu, for presenting. Okay, so this report we approve, pass unanimously. You have an update on the internal funds audit, Mr.
Yes,
Chu?
I do. Like I said, that our time is very limited when it comes to the internal funds audit. Averaging about two days for elementary, about 3 days per high school, and then and there are so many areas to cover. You remember that reimbursement, disbursement, receipt, fundraisers, leasing of school properties, aftercare programs. So there are many. And then we try to shift focus from school to school. if some of the school had good record in previous year, less funding, so we tend to spend less time on the safe areas. And then we also start something new now that when my staff go out to do the audit, that we let the principal know what happened to the school before for the last 5 years, what findings were repeated, who was in charge of different programs, and also as a part of the reinforcement for ensuring corrective actions are taken. Now, if there are critical findings being repeated or it happened in school, we give OPS a list of the name of the school, as well as the principal, and also OPS will follow up, and they send letters to the principal, reminding them that this thing is happening this year, last year, and they expect action to be taken by the principal. So I mean, we are closing the gap more and more right now, holding staff accountable for the findings.
Very good, very good. Ms. Williamson, you'll see that the full report will be presented in the,
When it's done, that right now each school will receive the findings and they have the response. So every single school is like a separate audit. After that, we will put together a management letter, and then Mr. Berg and Ms. Samuel will respond to the management letters for all the findings from district perspective. And then when it's done, most likely sometime in March. We expect to finish everything in February. So it will take some time, depending on how fast they can respond.
Right.
Sometimes maybe staff requests a lot of details, that which school had the problem, so it may take some more time. But we are shooting for sometime in March to come back to the audit committee with a complete management letter.
right, it's a whole comprehensive, school by school, region by region, and it points out, it's a grid, it's beautiful. I don't know how many areas are on the scope now. We've expanded it several times, and there must be at least 25 areas in the scope,
Yeah,
the
about.
schools. And then we'll see that by type of school, by history. It's very good. It's a very good tool for the area superintendents and the principals and the superintendent to look and see where there's issues and problems. And it helps create the work plan every year for the audit committee when they go out there, as he says, to know what to focus on and whatnot. Okay, thank you. Thank you for that update. We have investigative reports that the audit committee has that we could review on our own, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Anything else?
No, I think that's pretty much what we have for today's meeting.
Quick meeting today. Ms. Manzo, anything from you?
Yes, one question.
Sure.
Is this committee responsible for the members for completing financial disclosures?
I believe you are.
I don't believe I've ever received anything
Okay.
providing me that information, and,
We'll get with you.
okay, just so we know, okay?
Yeah.
Sure, I have.
And so that means we're also government in the sunshine law, so Chandler and I cannot discuss anything about anything that's going to be coming before this board if we're at another meeting, so.
You're absolutely
Okay.
governed by
That's right.
sunshine.
Yeah, we're definitely sunshine.
Blair, if I've already completed the financial disclosure for Career Source Palm Beach County, is that all that needs to be done? Does it only need to be done once, or does it need to be done for each organization?
Have to look into it and get back with you
Well,
on that.
just let me know if I have to do it, that's all.
Will do.
I got a copy of the other one, so.
And I have to fill it out as well for my position, but I don't know if I have to note on there, school board, audit committee as well, so.
We'll look at it. and
Thank you,
balance
appreciate
with
it.
both of you.
All right, good question. Yeah, I think I filled it out years ago.
Oh, yeah. Actually, you do have to list it.
Yeah, I would think so. Yeah, that's why it's public. Okay, good. Anything else?
No.
Motion to adjourn?
Chairman.
So moved.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir. Mr. Barbieri.
if you give me a minute, I have an issue that I'd like to bring to the attention of the audit committee. We've been having ongoing problems with the air conditioning system at Olympic Heights High School for at least the last 4 years. This week, it was not working 3 times. The students and the parents and the teachers are, they're very, very angry, and I don't blame them. They're very angry. In fact, I have a meeting scheduled with the chief, with Mrs. Paul at 10 o'clock. But the response I got from the administration, the chillers in that system is due to be replaced with the sales tax money. The current schedule is between 2022 and 2024, which I'm absolutely going to insist, in fact, it's on the school board agenda for this meeting coming up, that we move that up immediately, because the temperatures are in the 90-degree range, 95-degree range in the classrooms. The students are actually opening the windows to bring in the hot air from outside, which is cooler than the air inside the building. But the response I got from the administration is that system was installed in 2005 with a 30-year life expectancy. If we replace it in 2022, we'll have gotten 17 years out of it. If it's in 2024, when it's scheduled, the outside is 19 years. I believe that, there should be some review of the situation to determine whether or not the vendor and the installer, the companies that put that system in for, the cost is around $4 million we're going to pay to replace the system. Certainly, if the life expectancy was 30 years and we're only getting 17 years out of it, somebody's responsible for either a bad decision or bad installation. So the audit committee should probably take a look at that. And then a question for Mr. Chu: with the $1 billion we're going to be spending over the next 10 years for new schools and AC systems and things like that, do you have enough staffing? I know Mr. Bliss is the one primarily responsible for construction auditing. Do you need another construction auditor in your office to make sure that issues that can avoid problems like this are reviewed by the audit department before we find there's problems and during the time we're doing contracts rather than afterwards?
Yes, absolutely. We've been kind of short-staffed for some time. Now we get the $140-something million extra money from sales tax after the referendum. We are actually focusing on it. And yes, more help is needed.
So perhaps the audit committee needs to make a recommendation to the school board that the staffing in the auditor's office be increased to cover the cost of overseeing the expenditures that we're going to be having on with the sales tax money. But I want to bring it to your attention, both the AC system replacement, which seems like, if we're only getting half a life out of something and we're going to spend $4 million to replace it, somebody's responsible for that, I would think. And also that I'm sure that, that if there's additional personnel needed in that office, it should be brought to your attention. So thank you.
Thank you. Well, I hear what you're saying. I'm not sure if it was an accounting decision to go 30 years and the system can't last that long, or, what's that?
Sorry, that's not an accounting decision. That's an operations decision.
Well, no, you said it was supposed to last 30 years. I mean,
Yeah, the chief operating officer responded to me that system was put in 2005 and the life expectancy was 30 years.
okay, oh, I see, not an accounting life expectancy. I see, okay. So, yeah, that definitely needs to be investigated. Mr. Chu and the IG staff, now I'm thinking about the scope again. I don't recall, except for life safety, is there anything in your school audit that looks over these type of capital items in your audit?
I don't think so.
There is nothing, right?
No.
I don't think with the staff you have and the time you have, but it's an interesting point where these could be brought up. I mean, it shouldn't be brought up once a year, of course. As soon as there's a problem, it should be brought up right away. So it probably shouldn't be within the scope, but it's an interesting point. And Mr. Bliss, have you been told about this yet?
Inspectors inspect the work.
Okay, so I'm glad you're bringing it up. Yes, Ms. Manzo.
And I'm sorry, but are you saying $4 million for one school?
That's correct. I think it's 3.6 million. Mr. Burke, do you remember? I
For
think it's
just
3.
the AC system?
That's the AC system.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Go
there's
ahead.
multiple components. There's chillers, there's multiple chillers, and the air handlers, and it depends on the extent of how much work has to be replaced.
I mean, I assume, you're saying, Mr. Barbier, none of us are in that area. I assume what you're saying is that the whole system had to be replaced. It's 3 high million. The question is, and I assume someone must know, maintenance, if it's only, when I say the word only, if it's only 15 years old, does the whole system need to be replaced? Was it flawed? That's what you're saying, is it defective?
The sales tax sheet says that the HVAC system that'll be replaced are sheet metal ductwork, outside air dampers, air handlers, exhaust fans, chiller replacement, cooling towers. There's 3 chillers there. Currently, there's only 2 of them working. On any given day of the week, there's probably only 2 of them working. Sometimes there's 1. I've been complaining about it for 4 years. There's always a pump on order. There's a vendors on site, but, it's gotten to the point where it's critical now. There's no way that those children can have effective learning and teaching in that school if the temperature's 95 degrees during the fall and spring. And it always happens this time of the year. The administration also doesn't turn the air conditioning system on early enough on Monday mornings to make sure that school is cooled down. So when those children get there on Monday mornings, the school is always too warm. I'm sure it's in an effort to save electricity like we do at all the schools, but that school is problematic, and the costs are in the millions of dollars, and something needs to be done, and an investigation, I believe, should be undertaken.
Agreed. Mr. Chu?
Mr. Chairman, I just want to make sure that we get a clear direction from the audit committee. Now that we have an issue regarding the AC unit with a particular school, in general, when we hear something like this, we could do either investigate it or do a special review. We do that all the time. Special review is not necessarily an audit. It's a very well-defined scope for the project. Like for this situation,
This seems well defined.
yeah, we could look into whether the warranty had been, kick in, whether the regular maintenance has been done according to the spec, or other issue like were the parts, the quality of parts. There are many reasons that cause the breakdown of a system. So I think that with the clarification from audit committee, then we will start a special project
Okay.
to look into that.
Before we give you clarification, we have some input.
Yes.
Welcome.
So, sorry, I'm a little delayed getting here.
It's all right. Introduce yourself.
My name is Wanda Paul. I'm Chief Operating Officer for the district. Currently, the school is cooling. We have our vendor working an agreement with our vendor Train to monitor that campus going forward. We had a bad switch on chiller number 2 go down, which is not uncommon for something like that to happen, especially when you have power surges and so forth. So the school, the bad switch, we have the 2 chillers currently running at 24/7. The bad switch will be replaced by noon. So I understand, based on talking to my staff, that we had 2 occurrences, one last Monday and one this Monday. And in both instances, it was a bad switch. We found a used part that we were able to put in right away. And then currently, as I said before, running the school 24/7, it is our expectation that the school will be the chiller 2, which is the bad chiller, will be fully functional by noon today.
You're out of my league. If chiller 2 will be fully functional, was it not functional because of the switch?
Yes. So as irritating as it is, systems do go down. But what is really important is our response, and I think we could have been a little bit more aggressive on our response in making sure that the chillers were running 24/7 as opposed to starting them early. I think that would have kind of offset some of the inconvenience and discomfort for our students.
Okay. I appreciate that. Mr. Barbieri has said that this specific school has had problems for many years.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, and Mrs. Paul has only been here this year, so it's not, I'm not suggesting to her that, that the Chief Operating Officer did anything incorrectly with respect to the response here, but I can tell you, I mean, if you just want to go on Facebook and look at West Boca News this morning, you'll see that they've done a complete public records request because they want to see my correspondence with the district over the last how many years, and I can tell you that this system is down on a regular basis. Maybe it doesn't come to the attention of the Chief Operating Office. I know that the people in that school were told, don't bring it to the attention of the school board some years ago. I raised hell with that administration, and I said, I don't want to find out from the parents or the newspapers that the system is down. I want to be told in the morning so I can get on this because the response in the past from the administration has been lax. I mean, I'm told that the pump's on order, the switches went bad, there was an electrical surge and the power was kicked off. I mean, it's like, it's constant, it's constant. Every single week during the fall and spring, there's a problem with the AC system. One of the chillers is down for some reason. And now we're going to replace a $4 million system that was put in 15 years ago, 16 years ago, with a brand-new system for another $4 million when it was supposed to have a 30-year life. So something is wrong with the system. Dwyer had the same situation. I'm not sure what the time period was on that one, but we replaced the system that was identical, I believe, at Dwyer High School 2 years ago, and that cost us millions of dollars. So I don't know what went wrong here. I can tell you that if the Chief Operating Officer is not aware of the fact that there's more than just two events in the last several weeks, that is incorrect, because we can call the students here and they'll tell you that the temperature in some of those rooms is reaching in the 90 degrees on a regular basis. So, I mean, I've heard from the parents, I'm hearing from the teachers, and I'm hearing from the students, and it's a chronic problem at that school, and it's been going on, and now I'm getting crucified in the newspaper because I'm not done anything about it. And Mrs. Paul can tell you this year I've raised hell about it, and for the past several years, Mr. Burke can tell you that it's been a constant issue at that school. So I just want to fix it, and I want you all to look at it, because we're spending millions of dollars to replace a system that shouldn't have to be replaced.
Okay, understood.
So one of the things, and Mr. Barbieri is absolutely correct, I am new here. I've been here about a year. What I've asked my folks to do is pull the history on these particular, on the 3 chillers actually, on all of them. My understanding is they're between 13 and 14 years old. Their lifespan is 30 years. And so, again, you know, we're working diligently to try to make sure that we're servicing the students and the community in the proper way. So I'm not opposed to whatever you feel is necessary to make people feel better about what we're doing, but I know that it is not uncommon with power surges. My understanding is about 2 years ago, FPL replaced a transformer that was causing the chillers to trip. And so it took a while to get FPL to actually embrace that solution. Once they replaced the transformer, my understanding is that we did not have those continuous issues. So again, I think we need to do some additional research to see if there is a trend with any one particular chiller on this.
That makes sense. The committee has questions in a second. My question is, if the life expectancy is 30 years, and this is only 14 years old, and Mr. Barbieri has a schedule saying that's going to be replaced before, why would it be replaced before that?
So I think when the original schedule, again, my understanding and what I've been told.
Right, from what you know,
that,
I understand.
Yeah, so the chillers were 1999. They were replaced in 2005. And so when they did this last assessment, they were going by the 99 date. And so that was an issue. So I'm looking a little bit deeper into that and how that occurred. But it's no doubt that there are issues, obviously, and the school is built to run with 3 chillers, not 2. So our set point is somewhere in between 76 and 78 degrees. The highest temperature, again, my understanding was 79.6. But again, you know, on a hot day, it's not comfortable. So I have to do, again, as I said, I have to do some more research with my team to look at trends over the last most current 2 years to see if it's been, what have been those issues with the chiller. I'm not discounting what Mr. Barbieri is saying or what the students or parents are saying. Without a doubt, it needs to be fixed if it's a continuing issue.
Okay. Any questions? What about how we, just Ms. Dixon?
I have thoughts, but not as a committee member, just as a taxpayer in Palm Beach County, you know, thinking, is this the most efficient system for the amount of money? Because that's a lot of money to pay for schools, but I'm not here, I don't have that information. But I will tell you the FPL system, same thing happened with my water plant, so I understand exactly, you know, what can happen there.
Yeah, one of the things, we use centrifugal chillers at these big schools and big office buildings and complexes. And the reason we use those type chillers is because they're, the lifespan is so long, 30 years. But again, it requires a lot of maintenance. And like with most school districts, there's always a lag period of where there's money, enough money to do the necessary maintenance. So I have to look at it also from that standpoint, where we were in budget and so forth. So I don't currently know that information. Elementary schools, smaller plants, you can use water-cooled chillers, and those are easier, less expensive, and so forth. So, again, I have to do my research. I apologize for not having an exact trend map to show you and so forth, but as we go forward, I would be happy to provide that information.
Okay. Any other questions? What about Mr. Barbieri's request?
I think was direction to see if we could at least look into, as Mr. Chu said, the warranty issue, the life expectancy issue, to, you know, all those things, just to determine, is there, you know,
And also the maintenance,
Right.
So, Mr. Chu, do you need direction from the committee to do with the review that you suggested?
Well, we could initiate it based on the comments from the board member or the committee. Yes, well, it's within our jurisdiction.
Okay, so is there a motion do we do a motion for that? I would like to do that, so we're on record. So move. Second for Mr. Chu to do his review?
second?
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay. All right, so that passes. So, Mr. Chu, you're authorized to work with the COO, come back and report to us. They'll be working on it anyway, so you can
Right,
watch that.
yeah.
It doesn't need to be redundant. In other words, he doesn't need to do the same work you're doing, but just oversee it and report back to the committee. So, Mr. Barbieri, you know, I hear what he's saying, and he needs that information, and the more eyes that are looking at it, the better. And we'll look at it from a different point of view as well. Correct, Mr. Bliss? Yeah. Was that a yes? Yes. You like that? Okay, good. Thank you, Mr. Barbieri, for bringing that up. Welcome. Any other questions or issues? Okay, motion to adjourn?
Already did that.
Second
You did
motion
that?
to
Second?
adjourn.
So
but
Mr.
we-
Barbieri interrupted us?
We probably should have
Okay.
reopened, but.
Thank you.
Okay, we're adjourned. No, we didn't have to. You're very formal. I like that.